Today I'm going to be talking to you about creating language objectives in your general content area classrooms. Every teacher creates lesson objectives that are based off the standards for that content area. It's also important, in order to best serve your ELL students, that you create language objectives. And these objectives are directly based from the content objectives for that day. They just explicitly state the language function that the student will need in order to be successful for that day. And these language functions come directly from the 4 domains of language learning, which are speaking, reading, writing, and listening. For this video, I will be using a 5th grade social studies lesson, and my student is a Spanish-speaking student who is in his 2nd year in an American school. The first thing I'm going to show you is the from the WIDA resource guide for the WIDA standards. My student is at writing, because this is a writing lesson, is at a level 3, which is developing. And for writing, he will be able to produce bare bones expository or narrative text, compare and contrast information, and describe events, people, processes, and procedures. He also, in this, will be reading a couple articles, and he's also at level 3, so he can sequence pictures, events, processes, identify main ideas, use context clues to determine meaning of words. Another part will be discussing and pulling out ideas from the text, which involves comprehension, but he also will have to do some speaking in that. In his speaking, he's at a level 2, which is a beginning level. And in speaking, he can ask WH questions, describe pictures, events, objects, and people, and restate facts. So for the lesson, the main lesson objective is this. The lesson objective is students will compare the bluegrass and knobs regions of Kentucky. And they will do that based upon the 2 articles that they are reading. One is on the bluegrass, one is on the knobs region. So the 2 language objectives, I've made 2 language objectives, because he'll be using, really 3 domains of language learning: reading, writing, and speaking. So the first language objective that I have is student will describe characteristics of each region using key details and pictures from the text. And that'll be his speaking after he reads the text and they are discussing it as a class and with his peers. That will be what he should be able to do in speaking, and he will use the key details and also pictures from the text and any additional pictures that the teacher feels like will need to assist in him being able to describe in detail each characteristic. And then for the writing portion, he will be using a graphic organizer, probably a T-chart. A student will write 2 similarities and 2 differences of the 2 regions. So that's where the comparing comes in. And after he uses a graphic organizer, he'll be able to put that into paragraph form. So those are my 2 language objectives, and this just clearly outlines and states exactly what the student will need to do in using the English language to be successful in this lesson. And the vocabulary of regions and bluegrass and knobs will be pre-taught and everything before the lesson actually begins. So there's just a snippet of how to create language objectives for your lesson.